Welcome to online classes of geography for class 8. Today is the third class of this chapter, our resources, and today's topic is sustainable development. Under this topic, there are some subtopics also that I'm going to discuss today. The number one is resource development. Now, already we have discussed about so many things about the resources. Now, there are some factors that continuously leads to the development of resources. Now, what are those factors? Who develops the resource? It is human being. So their skills should be widely developed. That means manpower should be skilled. Now, when manpower is skilled, they are using some technology. So continuously our technology should be advanced. Next, unless and until there is any competition between any of the students, there cannot be a good result in the examination. So similarly, unless and until there is a competition in any sort of activity, the good results cannot be there. Neither we are going to bother about the quality of a resource, neither we are going to bother about the quantity of the resource. So another factor for the resource development is international competition. Now, everybody who are involved to develop the resources, they are termed as workers. So, unless and until they are in a better working condition, they cannot give their 100%. The labor productivity cannot be 100%. And if it is not 100%, then the resource development is not be a fruitful one. Lastly, if government is not supporting it, if some non-government organization is not supporting, then the resource development cannot be a successful one. So these are some of the factors that help for the resource development. Now, continuously when we have developed the resources, it is done by the human activities. It is the function of human activities. And we human beings having a very important nature, that is a nature of greediness. When we are able to satisfy our needs, why we are going to bother about the others? That is why the problem has been led out in the nature, in the country, in the state. So, due to overexploitation, due to misuse, due to irrational consumption, the problem has been evolved out. So, just to solve this problem, a concept has been introduced which is termed as sustainable development. Now, what is the meaning of the word sustainable development? It means development of resource without damaging the environment and without compromising the needs for the present to conserve it, needs of the compromising with the needs of the future and to conserve it for the future. That means what does this indicate? That present generation will satisfy their needs and they will think for the future generation too. This is what the sustainable development means. It follows on the basis of concept of R. There are 5 R concept. What does the first R indicate? It indicates reuse. Whatever the thing that is being used, again we will reuse it. Like if we are using a water in an industry, then what will be the resultant? If the water is being polluted, we will treat out that water and again we will reuse it in that same industry. Recycle. Similarly, when we are generating out hydroelectricity, the water is continuously recycled. So the second R is recycle. Third is to reduce. We have to reduce our excessive or over exploitation of the resources, that is reduce. Fourth R is rethink. We have to rethink that whether we will use that resource or whether we will make a substitute to keep that resource safe in the environment. And last, regenerate. Previous I said substitute, like we have to substitute I'm just giving an example. Iron is an exhaustible resource. It is continuously being used for various infrastructures. Now, when it is an exhaustible resource, what is the resultant? At a certain period of time, it will get exhausted. So, we have to regenerate a new product that will substitute the iron. And we have regenerated PVC. Now the iron rods are being supplemented by the PVC. So this is the last concept of R, that is regeneration. Now there are some principles of sustainable development. What are those? Now first, we have to improve the quality of human life and other living organisms too. Why? Because we have already polluted the environment due to our over exploitation or discriminate utilization. Next, we have already exploited many resources, so we have to conserve the earth's resource, which are too much diverse in nature. Third, we have to reduce the depletion of the natural resources. Fourth, we have to respect and care for all the forms of the living organisms. Fifth, we have to adopt a proper attitude towards the environment. What is our attitude? I need a plot of a land and I will clear a patch of a forest. I'll not think about it that there are so many resources that will get destroyed, that will get depleted. So we have to change our attitude towards the environment. And lastly, we have to help the communities to care for their own environment. There are many tribal society who are directly depending upon the environment. So when we are destroying the environment, those communities' survival is also at stake. So we have to help those communities to keep the environment in its normal condition. So these are the principles of sustainable development. So now I'm going to conclude the topic. What is the basic aim that we can draw from this? That we have to conserve the resources. We have to use the resources judiciously, rationally, carefully for the better development of the nation. The main thing is that not only to preserve it, not only to protect it, but also to continue the growth of the nation. That is what sustainable development means. Now I have already given some questions, objective as well as short questions. I'm just reading out that non-renewable resources need to be conserved because they are dash. Conservation of natural resources is essential for dash. Potential resources are found in a region but not developed due to dash. Sunlight, air, water are found everywhere. Thus, these are what type of resources? Lastly, natural resources are dash of nature. Now, some short questions. What is the condition for a substance to be called a resource? What do you understand by the word utility? What does the classification of natural resources into different groups depend upon? That means the basis. What do you understand by the resource conservation? How can we conserve the resource? Just now I explained the concept. Technology is which type of resource? And lastly, give two main characteristics of resource. The characteristics we are having, why we are using the resource? Because it is having its utility. And number two, what is it? Every resource having its own value, whether it is economic, whether it is aesthetic, whether it is legal, whether it is ethical, whatever it is, every resource having its own value. So these are the basic two main characteristics of resource. So today I have completed chapter number 1. The next class I am going to start chapter number 2. In the meantime, you follow the notes, you solve out the question answers and note it down in your old copies, or if you are having a new copy, just jot down all the topics, and thank you for following the class.